Okay, everybody, welcome to our latest edition of Poets Near and Afar. We have two wonderful poets with us today. We've heard from both of them in the past in various, whether it was the gazebo or some of these other online versions of this program that we've done. The Oceanside Library is very proud to do this. We're also very proud of having a number of different programs that we will be doing in the month of April, and I will be announcing probably next week that we're going to try to start lining people up for podcasts that will be broadcast during the month of April, which is National Poetry Month. Again, as always, if you unless you have some ambient noise behind you, please feel free to leave your mic open. If I do mute you, it's only because for some reason I'm picking something up. It's not meant to be a slap in the face in any manner, shape, or form. And feel free to unmute yourself, especially to applaud our wonderful poets. Same thing with the camera. If you're going to be doing something that's distracting, please shut your camera off. And if you do not want to be in the open mic, please put that in the chat. Otherwise, I will assume that you want a piece of that. The only person I'm going to ask to identify themselves, there's somebody on their iPad.
That's Tony. That's my brother and sister-in-law from
okay. Yep. Now I see them, and yes, they don't look like Zoom bombers. I think we're in good shape. I'm not going to be dropping a bunch of F-bombs here on us, right? Okay. So all right. So without any further ado, we'll get started with our features. And so I welcome George Guida. George.
Thank you, Tony. And I apologize for some ambient noise here. I'm actually al fresco in Manhattan, out today inevitably. And and there's a siren. So I'll get right to it. These poems are from my new manuscript called The Other End of the Rope, and I will just begin. This first poem is called Bourdain Said. Bourdain said, my mother said, as though he were her devil. My mother, chair-bound by years of toil for others, like Bourdain in his kitchen or on the road, in places my mother had never been and sure as hell would never get to now. Bourdain spoke to her from Rio, Istanbul, Bangkok, Lagos. She'd found her man, unafraid to risk his life for a hearty meal. He rolled through Yaba, asking the locals to smother his moi moi and fufu until he kissed and convinced them to dance at the club where my mother let it all hang out, getting low to the Afro beat and nibbling his ear. There was my mother, ageless, arm in arm with him, strolling down the Avenida Atlantique, claiming an oceanfront bench to share a bowl of bobo de camarão and a caipirinha as the night breeze cooled the coast, her head on his blousy shoulder, dissolving in the mist. This next one is to give equal time. This next one is from my father. It's called A Love Duet in My Father's Age. Farrar and Caruso sing us Butterfly in a century-old parlor complete with Victrola and record collections I thought to save from houses of uncles who also loved these melodies. We've played 5 different renditions, reviving decades with each, spinning backwards through my father's years, his mother's last wish for an aria, suburban afternoons listening with cousins in sitting rooms, city mornings with barbers who groomed them for romance and told tales of the greats. As Farrar sings desperate young love and Caruso allows her belief, my father sits back, 2 hands on his cane, newlywed in top hat and tux, next to my mother in fur, on the town, at the opera grand as royalty, floating above their years of scrimping for us, above the armchair after dinner stogies, lit in tribute to these moments of perfection and limits of our lives. Farrar and Caruso again, holding final harmony, and my father in tears, for what beauty insists will never abandon us. And to give really equal time, a poem for my son. Tuesday evening. We complain our kid is addicted, screens as destructive as heroin, social network centuries old, shredded by devices we bought to keep him out of our hair. No children playing in the street. My wife sips coffee in a comfy chair while I channel surf and reminisce about the ways we used to measure time in television shows watched together with our baby boy down for the night. From his bedroom now, shouts and gunfire. She's trying to decipher social theory just arrived at our front door. I think about a bookstore near campus where I hunted yellowed paperbacks listed on syllabi I'd never complete. A buddy pointing to a girl from class. My wife announces she's going to sleep. I stay up another half hour, checking social media for anything. Technology undressing the lonely. And one more for the boy. The P-lease. Among his teenage sins, my son says very little to the girl he calls girlfriend. He guesses, as if a kiss were still a mystery and vaping were just a news report. She is bored, but doesn't let on, playing with her phone while he sits at his wall of screens and asks between fantasy pics what it is they should do. As if the day were not new, as if nothing had changed, as if he had not woken up in the live death of night and failed to raise the seat before returning to an empty bed and dreams he keeps to himself. And yet another one for the son. I finally reached that point where my son is 16 and I can now actually write poems for him, about him. I couldn't do that for 10 years, but now I think I'm there. How you'll know you've lived. The night you walk the dog around the block and spot the lighted windows of a house you somehow missed and see in that moment the ones you've passed on other walks in moonlight and people you've left behind, and see a woman leaning in to kiss a man you've never met, but know by the chain that pulls you to that place. So you feel what she's found in a simple good night, that night when the air is cool enough for empty streets, but warm enough to slow your pace. Only watch the dog as she sniffs the grass, knowing you're granting joy of essential things, knowing you're giving life so many will lose, as you've done before with other comrades in other towns. When the family you found is in for the night and the street is your view of history, of figures whose lives are mysteries with faces lost in shadow and remaining steps, and the moment joins the one you carry past these windows looking onto you. Then you can let the dog run free, disappear, and understand what the scent of the night has been. This is a very recent one. This one's going to be in a journal called Book of Matches very soon. Dear lifetime companion, I'm sorry that I've grown mule-necked. It must have happened when I turned my head to devour fields of photos, saving screens in the deaths between shows meant for mortals 20,000 words our junior. Filling those evenings with script has led to stupid silence. And that the potion didn't transform me into the animal I'd fancied. Whatever succeeds a pygmy giraffe, a graceful creature small enough to love, with a prehensile tongue as long as tails you tell yourself and never conclude. Dearest, if you hadn't drunk it too, you might hear my braying differently. I'm sorry that I've lost the use of languages I hardly had, like the dialect of buying flowers, the patois of sunset strolls, the idiom of doing dishes. It must have been impossible to listen to my sounds grow guttural from mating calls to agonies. Vernaculars stick in my thickening throat, too late to speak in tones that ask us to hold hands as we wait for test results. Whatever they tell us we've become, I'd like to believe we can deny in grunts or hisses if we be snakes, cast out of our garden before we make it another fallen world. This is a poem about Marilyn Monroe. There's a book of poems out about Marilyn Monroe. This is one of them. I think it's from Cake and Milk Press. I don't want Marilyn. I love a pinup and a golden age as much as the next red-blooded boy, but I don't want Marilyn. Her afterlife and avatars pouting through imagined lips, no matter how my wife insists she could have aged into character, directed, had a sitcom, self-help show, a Where Is She Today reality stint in pantsuits, in shoulder pads, llamas, wool caps, and low-cut t-shirts, inspired millions of women to outlive men who wore them on their arms. To me, she is white chiffon, a cloud of a decade I accepted on parents' faith. She is America in soft focus, more the breeze up a skirt than the woman wearing it, more the dresser who disguised her than the morning that woke us from city bed and sleep onto Broadway, spilling out in sweatpants, searching for bagels and coffee, figuring Sunday, a classic movie, a family plan, a park bench, the bill of her cap resting on my shoulder, Texas whispers like secrets of her unmade face. I don't want Marilyn, but another woman in her image comes back to me now and then to play a scene I've written but never produced. She is standing alone on a bare stage, reading lines impossible to memorize. I think I have a couple. How am I doing on time, Tony? Am I okay? I'll take it as a yes, I guess.
There we go. Yeah, no, you're doing fine.
Okay,
Okay.
great. So this one's called The Old Sensualist. And I sort of imagined, getting older, imagine the absurd situation in which you're posing for a painting called The Old Sensualist. The Old Sensualist. I've been posing lately for this non-existent masterpiece, assuming attitudes practiced for easy brushstrokes and maximum pleasure. I'm most my old self prone, serving a young master who can capture my essence with a quick flick of a supple wrist. In a triptych called The Tryst, I am caught between bauds on mahogany boards stretched thinner than filigree, so thin that my joint pain acquires a sheen as I twist, crack, peel, and shall require restoration. A gentle hand swaddles my finest bits in fig leaf, pillows my cautious writhing with a dimpled silk squab. A blue sky between Dorics tricks the eye into belief that this spectacle of age belongs to the firmament. And let's see. Yes. This is for Drew Huebner, a colleague of mine who passed away earlier this year. He was a novelist and a really good one. Any body of water. Before you get word of an old friend's death, you are drifting between black water and blue ether. You have stopped paddling because the sun and its children asked you to. The news won't be yours, but you'll accept it the way the water receives your reflection and wait. You'll become the idea that the surface is a portal you can open only for the time it takes a heron to spread its wings. The whoosh of its new flight will be the sound of yesterday dissolving in elements that give you breath or drown you in its memory. Now really just two more, I swear. This one's called Low Note.
You got plenty of time, George.
Okay. I only have two. So
Okay.
That's it. This one's called Low Note. It kind of follows up. My last book was a book of poems about pop culture, a lot of them about rock and roll. So this kind of follows up on that. You are that tall, long-haired dude with the bushy mustache from the funky 70s band who thumbed one bass note over and over while the rest of the boys banged and wailed, the one who needed a shower after a night of hoisting buds on an ex's porch because he forgot to pay the rent and lost his third apartment since they split. You are that guy who tapped his Viking feet in time and smoked a noble pipe and took backslaps from the dour guitarist and pulled faces for the reedy singer who was so self-conscious that he smoked all your weed as though you were some kind of weed farmer, which you did sort of resemble. You are everybody's brother, righteous because you only made the effort to talk twice a day. A big lazy dog in the sun, barking once at a bird and once at your trigger noise. A hi-hat downbeat and a hush that says, it's you, big man. You are the moment they were all waiting for, the low note, sung to strike a deal between comedy and cool, between dirt and commerce, between clown self and self-respect. No matter how you might regret that note now, you were on the cover of the Rolling Stone. A naked, from the waist up half-truth about voices yelling in the background, yelling good times in reply, like what you sang meant the world should love the least likely to leave it something lasting and pure. And this will be the last poem. It's a little playing with nostalgia. It's just like in the old days, when we had less scenery and thought nothing of it. Nothing about dew on blossoms. We had fewer hours in the day. Mornings went by before the sun thought to reach us. When we lived without floorboards, everything was light as air, which smelled of gardenias. We didn't know where they were growing and didn't care. After that, all we smelled was roses, but now we're starting to smell gardenias again. It's just like in the old days, except we notice petals falling from the sky. One day is a fragrant shower, another a putrid downpour. The walk is always blanketed with pink. Years back, we would have swept it clean. Now work like that is for the wind. Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, George. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And thanks for joining us on the road.
All right, I'm going to tune in and turn my camera off because there might be some distracting things here on the street.
It's great. Thank you. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it. All right. So again, remind anybody, if you do not want to be in the open mic, please throw your name in the chat. If you're not on our email list and you want to be on our email list, again, put your email in there and you'll get our blast, the occasional blast. And so without any further ado, Stephen Shields.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for letting me come along and read a few things to you. I was here a couple of years ago and I was looking up my set list, if you will, at that point to make sure I had something other to read for you tonight. Let me start with this. It's called Smokes, a triptych. And if you know your triptychs, you know that this is a three-paneled painting, and the one in the center is usually the larger of the three. And as far as iconography is concerned, I guess it's iconography about my own childhood. Left panel. I'm driving a taxi to the end of a peninsula. Snow ticking at the crusting windshield. Flakes like the pages of a Metro daily blown down a grimy street. Theodore Retke is riding beside me in the front seat. He is silent for the most part, but occasionally mutters something about gangsters. He asks suddenly if I believe in ghosts. No, I reply. Not even mine? He asks quietly. No, I reply. You know they filled in the swimming pool where I had my heart attack after I died, didn't you? He said, it's covered by lawn these days. Why would anyone bother to see it? I murmured, staring into the deepening snow. I don't know, he shrugs. A pause. Sure you don't believe in ghosts? He asks again. Well, maybe I could believe in yours, I say. Does it matter? Sometimes it helps, he replies. Sometimes it helps. And he smokes in silence, the wheels whirring and slipping now as we come to the end of the peninsula. We get stuck in a frozen snowbank trying to turn around, our headlights dimming. Center panel. My grandfather is reading James Whitcomb Riley to me between puffs on an L&M. Little orphaned Annie, puff, has come to our house to stay, puff, in that gruff baritone. That boom that once barked orders during the Great War to the orderlies unloading the incoming wounded. There, and never mind that one, go, go. and the military hospital tent, the pungent antiseptic odor, the screams, the sobs and curses, limbs piled in a corner until the triage is finished and the cleanup crew can take the remnants to the pit dug at the edge of the camp and throw them in. And the goblins are real. They wear the enemy's uniform. And they did indeed, and will indeed, get you, puff, if you don't watch out. Right panel. My folks felt sorry for the old man, so they continued to do business with him after he lost his Shakespearean voice to cancer. He was and continued to be thereafter their life insurance agent. He would appear from time to time with papers to be signed, bent low at the front porch in a cloud of cigar smoke, immaculately dressed in business suit, overcoat, and fedora, leaning in to speak with Mom in the belching croak he had learned to use after his laryngectomy. And I can see him still, Prospero bent against the door frame, my mother clutching her bathrobe, while younger brother's just behind. And it's raining, and I can see the back of him in overcoat and hat, and I am just now wondering, all these many years after the old man finally left us, just how it was I could see him in angled relief like that, enchanted, as I must have been, outside in the front yard near a quince bush, the world transformed into an island, so very early that summer morning. This next poem, I think that just about every state in the Union must have a fake German or a fake Swiss village. I don't know what it is, but it seems like it needs to be there to grab the tourist dollars. We have one near us in Georgia, not very far north in Atlanta. It's called Helen, Georgia, and I was there on a writing retreat weekend with some friends a couple of years ago, and this poem appeared. It's called Maps of the Air. So here we sit in a house we are renting on Zeppelinstrasse, our syllables lighter than air, our frames rigid, on retreat in a Georgia logging town made into a Bavarian village. No jokes, please, about us being gas bags. Our poems are what float and hover, turn gracefully, then dock quietly at the intended moorings. Home from the North Atlantic, perhaps, on their way to publication, to editors who cannot see what we have seen as we stared out the airship windows at mile after mile of vacant ocean, bundled against the cold. It has taken us 4 days and several trips aft to the Loo before the end of our quest, our vision of hopeful completeness, land ho, a quiet descent, and the discontinuation of the cerebral roar we have grown accustomed to. It isn't easy navigating a poem, no easier steering it to its final destination. There are no maps of the air so far. We are merely fellow travelers in it, hoping to find our safe harbor when the huge airship is tethered so we can disembark. We walk down the ramp on unsteady legs, some of us numbed from alcohol, from cold, others of us running a high fever. No one kisses the ground. We have more faith in what we're doing than that. We have our return trip ticket tucked safely within our valises and expect the humanity of what we do goes on and on before us until our luck runs out. The captain descends to tell us goodbye, to thank us for our faithful attention. He looks carefully at what we have written, hands it to his graduate assistant, who smiles as she crumples the manuscript, tosses it into the trash. The wind promptly scatters our pages. No amount of effort can bring them back to us. On Zeppelinstrasse, such indignities are to be expected. Long after we depart, a stray page is found by a villager walking her dog, who scoops it up to see what we have spent so many hours trying to create. Our incantations, spells, enchantments, our yearnings, songs, dilemmas, hopeless quests. She pauses, rooted to the path, to read our forgotten thoughts, and sparks fly, just as her dog drops a vaporous log. Kaboom. Kaboom. All right, let's see what else we got here. I don't know if you folks care about forms of poems or syllables or things like that, but my very first book, Daimonian Sonata, which came out a long time ago now in 2005, was a sort of an apprentice work where I was sort of persuaded by the publisher to list all the forms I'd used in the table of contents, as if nobody would have any idea what a sonnet was. More recently, I've turned to syllabic verse and wound up writing several poems in a sort of 15-line, 15-syllable sequence. I went looking that up to see if it has a name, and the closest I came to it was something called a decapentasyllabic line. So this is one. And by the way, this is something also that I don't know, again, if you folks have this sort of difficulty. Sometimes I get a poem title and I sit around for a long time trying to figure out what poem fits with that. And then other times, here comes the poem, and I'm looking for a name for this baby. Now, this is one of those second type where I just could not, for the life of me, come up with a title. And I must have tried 100 titles on this thing, and I'm still not quite certain about this, but here's the latest version of it. Merlin, said Arthur slowly, this doesn't look like our Camelot. And what have you done to poor Guinevere? My father, the king, would have Mom sweep into Kresge's for him to buy enough silk headscarves to cover his model airplanes. She would emerge with as many as she could find in colors that contrasted well with summer skies, strong pinks, fluorescent reds. Still, the store clerks found it amusing the queen would want dozens at a time of the same color. Got a lot of them there, hon, one of them would grin. Therefore, my husband, lord and liege, she'd smirk, then snicker about it when she hopped back into our Plymouth. Dad gave her his famous exasperated look. Mom just said to get our feet off her seat back. Dad would later take these scarves upstairs to his workbench, open the window, uncork a can of airplane dope, and slowly proceed to prepare the surface, coating every part to be covered. Downstairs, Mom was on the phone with her ladies in waiting, fixing dinner. Knights would come in from their backyard jousts. Mom lit another L&M. I do some genealogical research at times, and I was researching some folks on my mom's side of the family some time ago. And as I was browsing the cemetery in the middle of absolutely nowhere in Indiana, and if you've been to Indiana, and especially the northern 2/3 of it, and most of it is absolutely nowhere anyway. That's where I was born. Anyway, this was in a particularly small cemetery in a particularly small area of the county. And I finally found my relatives, took the obligatory picture. And then as I turned around, on the back of a nearby tombstone was this inscription: he was the oldest hunter in Wells County. And that set some wheels of thought going here. So this poem is titled At McFerrin Cemetery, Wells County, Indiana. That he'd survived the March miasmas should have been sufficient. But there he was at 84 in brush pants, boots, and poncho, 12-gauge Browning, Auto 5, and shot in search of pheasant, duck, or quail in season, just as Pa had taught him. Tramping along the stinking Wabash together, they had learned the land, the habitats of muskrat, deer, and possum, kept their larder groaning full. They seldom spoke and seldom needed to. The wolves were gone and had been for a while, since '56, when a $2 bounty brought lots of scalps and lots less howling. Same with the bears. Some circular fox hunts had quickly flushed and cleaned them out as well. Oh, tales were still told of how old Isaac Covert had killed an otter back in '86, bare-handed, wounded, while others watched, hurrahing for our side. Will's Bulger still could fool you in the field, his wild turkey call so perfect, it made you weep. But that was then, and this was now, some 30 years past the close of the frontier. And still he strode forth on a fine spring morning, glad of his life and of his prowess. True, there were better hunters, younger men whose modern rifles made them better shots, young men who grinned whenever he came to town, who called him Old Dad. He didn't mind. He knew the land was changing. He had made it so. Let me see here. I have a couple that I wanted to read, especially for you folks. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here's one, The Bathers. I'm also a member of the Georgia Poetry Society, the past president a couple of times, and somebody else is in charge now, thankfully, doing a good job. But we have the occasional workshop, and this is something that came out of one of those about 6 months ago. The Bathers. This is after a painting that hangs in the Augusta, Georgia Museum, painted by a man named Edgar Nye. What are we to make of these mute and elegant bathers, those reclining faceless figures near the waves, not here for bathing in the ocean, but the sun? What do their picnic baskets hold, their flasks glinting as they rise in rapid salute to Almighty Sol? Where are the parents of that young boy so near the water, a wave imminent? Who checks beneath that beach umbrella from which only 3 legs protrude? Where is the jug-eared ice cream vendor, the village idiot, the homeless drifter, eyeing the happy multitude from his perch atop a boulder out of the frame, quietly sizing them up to see whose wallet lies unattended but inviting as the pain flares monotonously in stomach, mind, and needled arm? The painter does not allow us to see this mischief, yet we know full well it lies among us and along us, and perhaps it even lies within us, near enough to guard against it. And so this moment caught in time is not so much a verity as it is illusion, a moment where we simply lie in peace and something like forgetfulness, enjoy the waves, the breeze, the sun's warmth as it radiates across the sand and bounces back across the sails of passing pleasure craft, bathing at our leisure in contentment while we wash away our many cares. Let's just see here. Let me go to this one. This is, I don't usually write political poetry, but this is as close to one as I've gotten for a while. I was reading Howl by Allen Ginsberg when I was struck by this phrase. His phrase in his poem was called "Listening to the Crack of Doom on the Hydrogen Jukebox." The title of this poem is called "Sticking a Nickel in the Hydrogen Jukebox Just to See What Happens." After all, what difference did it make to a nation in the grips of pandemic, to the man-child president who refused to go quietly into that good night, to a nation torn and bleeding, unarmed citizens snuffed out by racist cops who claimed the right to use deadly force for being in fear of their own lives? And what difference did it make when insurrectionists, dressed in horns and body paint, marauded the hallways of the DC Capitol building in search of swag or selfies, or perhaps our representatives, and were then heard yelling, "After we execute the politicians, the teachers are next"? Meanwhile, the rest of us, shocked and amazed at the sudden combustion of our fellow man, got up and put on shirt and tie, but no pants, fired up the coffee maker, set up the ring light, handed children stuck at home with homework but no teachers to a long-suffering spouse, and began Zooming. And so our planet spins a little faster than it did last year, tilts a little less, gets a little hotter. We sweat through worse wildfires, terrible thunderstorms that flood our basements, trees uprooting and crashing on power lines, killing the occasional driver who was just going out for a gallon of 2%. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing in a hydrogen voice of combustible fear against the unknown and the unclear, against the uneven distribution of chance of surviving a virus of mutating transmissibility, a voice resigned but hopeful, flattened by the knowledge that death comes for us all. How can I endure in such an environment? How can anyone? I don't mean how to package the sausage I'm selling. I mean, what can I possibly point to as any idea whatsoever of actual truth? I can't. I'm lost instead, trying to find my way, stumbling, grieving. You want to come along? Be my guest. Oh, let's see here. What am I doing on time here? Let me do one more and we'll call it a night. How's that for at least me? Something fairly short. In fact, very short. It's Ars Poetica. Ars Poetica. Everybody has to write one sometime in their poetic career. And here's mine. I was sitting in church before the service, reading a book of poems, Tony Hoagland's Donkey Gospel, since you asked. An older man sat down beside me, noticed what I was reading, and quietly whispered, "Son, why aren't you reading the Bible?" "I am," I said. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate being invited, and hope you found it enjoyable.
Great job. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Everybody can kind of unmute yourselves. Let's give both of our feature readers here a nice round of applause.
Wonderful, wonderful job.
Really great. Thank you so
Really
much.
enjoyed it.
Yep. Very, 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 just excellent. Excellent stuff, guys. All right. So we're going to get started with the open mic. And again, the way this works is I will say somebody's up and the other person's on deck. So this way we can be ready and move. And the other thing I will remind you is that my feeling on open mics is that you're here to read a poem, non-epic length, and you're not the feature, so we don't really need to hear the entire backstory of the poem, but certainly can tell us a little bit about it. All right, so we're going to get started. And Cone, you're up, and Christine, you're on deck.
Okay. All right. This is an oldie. We have not been having snow, so there is snow involved in here. An ode to the places I will not be visiting during February break. First, there are the gloves, which I cannot manage to keep dry while brushing off the windshield. My hands should be cradled around an iced brew from the Café du Monde. Even the powdery snow is reminiscent of their famous beignets. Who wouldn't prefer a lively second line procession to the incessant thud of distant snowplows? I'm tired of the Monday over Tuesday storms, erroneously predicted high wind damage, icy roads followed by a tease of double-digit temperatures. I will not be sleeping in a quaint adobe inn, looking forward to exploring the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum in Santa Fe. Nor will I be traipsing through a rainforest waiting to fuss over adorable baby animals at the sloth sanctuary in Costa Rica. I will not be peering at the Golden Gate Bridge through layers of fog. You won't find me standing in line for any ride in the Magic Kingdom whatsoever. No, it will be enough to choose colors for my living room. Should the accent wall be Moroccan red or raspberry truffle? And do I stick with a burgundy couch, or should I just go with a neutral like Java, which sadly reminds me of the cafe au lait I will not be enjoying in New Orleans this week.
Wonderful, thank you. You gotta love any city that lets you have Zeppeli for breakfast, right? Okay, Christine, you're up, and Vinnie, you're on deck.
This is called Nothing to Forgive. Epigram. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. Mary Oliver. How terrible it is to think that to despise someone is something you could feel, and that it would appear a normal reaction, like the brain's automatic reflex to the searing sting on your young face, when the back of her hand sliced the air and connected below your eye on your delicate cheek. 4 red talon lines and the outline of her engagement ring raised welts like a waxen seal seconds after they scraped your soft skin. Nothing was broken. The skin didn't bleed. Your childhood wasn't wretched. You grieved for the woman who could not understand her own pain. Hatred was never anything you could feel. There was nothing to forgive.
Very nice. Thank you, Christine. Very, very nice. All right, Vinnie, you're up, and Iderenian, you're on deck.
Thank you, Tony. Quick one. This is off of the prompt. Write a poem about the word, what you think the word love means to you. This poem is called Lovebirds in the Light Tower. Never having to worry or say you're sorry, that natural feeling, welcome and appealing, which leads you to home. Sharing the roost together, amidst the sage and heather, taking turns atop the egg. Love lives in things unsaid, warms your tired bones. Bracing against the storm, storing the summer corn, racing into the night, doing what is right, it's written in the stones. Feeding the chicks, getting our kicks, searching for worms amongst the terns, you'll never soar alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vin. Appreciate that. All right, Iderenian, you're up, and Valerie, Griggs, you're on deck. The entire writing center, by the way, Valerie, not just you, the entire writing center.
Hi, Tony. Hi,
Hi, how are
everyone.
you?
The power of death. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Going about our separate ways, the chores life gives to us. Thinking of one another, no time to pause to say I care. Then walks death, the magnet of us. From all parts of the earth, we come together to say goodbye. We pause, we laugh, we cry, we hug. We vow to always stay in touch. And then we just, for a while, but life separates us again. Then in walks death, the magnet of us. From all parts of the earth, the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Okay, so Valerie, you're up, and Teresa, you're on deck.
Okay. This is called Crow Mother, Kachina Dancer. I am on the back of a crazy Kachina. As she skitters through the maze of Greenwich Village, ignoring my threats, resisting my force. Regulars perched on the Garibaldi statue shout obscenities at the Kachina, another illegal, stealing crumbs and air. They show even more disgust for me. Where? Why? I shout, nearly biting my tongue. Because the mother of all hummingbirds is running too fast for her long deerskin skirt and moccasins, for her own feet. I am the reason for her hurry. I am out of season and in dire need of the sand painting. She is unmoved that my feet are bleeding from walking on eggshells. It is time to act. The soul is painted with totems and legends. She points with great black wings on the sides of her head to rainbow warriors gathering. Would that I be fierce enough and not too late.
Thank you. All right, great evening we're having here. Teresa, you're up. Our friends on the iPad, are you reading, or are you just watching today? Okay, I think that's just watching. Okay. All right, so Teresa, you're up, and
Okay,
JR,
and I have-
hold 1 second, and JR,
Okay.
you're on deck. Teresa, just give me a second to get you highlighted, because I gotta find you. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? There you are. All right. Go ahead. All yours, Teresa.
thank you. I happen to be Valerie's cousin.
Okay.
This is called Heaven. I walk the old familiar path on this afternoon, cloaked with February sun. I amble past the avocado orchard, trees bristling with broad leaves rustling in the California breeze. The dry rustle speaks to me of other places, other climes, other times, papyrus and Egypt, or the tomes of poems I've not yet written. My mind invents territories and civilizations I've never seen. As I long for heaven, my true home, I hear heaven in the layers of sound, the whispers of trees. I see it in the fresh faces of golden poppies announcing themselves this early spring. We've risen again, the poppies say. If I were in heaven, would I miss all this? I think this is just a foretaste. I choose to go there often in my mind, a place I've never seen, but my soul sings of it.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, cooking along here. Judy, you're up, and Ronald Bremer, you're on deck. Judy. Just looking for purple. Hang on a sec. There we go.
Hard to miss. Thank you. Okay, so I'm reading one from Dog Speak, 24 poems in a 24-hour poetry marathon, and in the voice of dogs. So Vinnie's requesting 23, but I'm not. I'm reading from hour 16, which was midnight. Yawn. We're watching TV on the couch, a bad movie, but I'm not allowed to touch the remote. You stick with it, but I've seen enough. I look over at you to telegraph the idea of changing channels. You yawn, I yawn. I know that dogs will yawn if they see a human yawn, but I wonder if you'll yawn if I yawn, so I yawn. You yawn. You look surprised. I wonder if you're thinking what I'm thinking, and you yawn, I yawn. You spin on the couch, sit to face me, and I sit up facing you. I yawn, you yawn. You yawn, I yawn. I fake a yawn. You yawn. You fake, I yawn. TV and remote forgotten, we both yawn. Yes, this is much better than a bad movie. You and me, we fell asleep yawning. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, Ronald, you're up, and Larry McCoy, you're on deck. Ronald, did I lose Ronald? I lost him. Larry, you ready to step up?
Yes.
Go get him. And then Robert Rubino, you're on deck.
When you're my age, you see a lot of doctors. And when you're my age, you don't really care if you say inappropriate things. For years now, when a nurse or doctor asks if I have any allergies, I say yes. Fox News. A nurse put that on my chart during one of my visits to Winthrop Hospital. Years ago in Colorado, when it was time to pay a bill for renting a condo, I asked a lady at the desk, "Do you take American Express?" "You mean American Distress," was her response. "Yes, we take it." Totally devoid of principles, I've stolen that line and frequently asked, "Do you take American Distress?" People always know what I mean. On Saturday, I got online to pay the heart doctor for a recent test. When I printed out a receipt, there it was, something I had never noticed before when paying these people. Next to the blue American Express logo on the receipt were the words American Distress. Actually, just one word, American and distress joined together. Excellent. I like this so much, next time I pay the heart doctor, I may include a tip. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Love it. All right, Robert Rubino, you're up. Lloyd, you're on deck.
Thank you, Tony. Stickball hallucinations, 1958. Silent, narrow summer streets, parked car crowded under Idlewild cacophonous steel gray skies, became wide open, sunny, clear, cheer splashed spaces in old Yankee Stadium, a borough away in the Bronx. Sawed-off skinny broomstick and bony hands became big-barreled Louisville slugger in meaty fists, as scrawny, day-tripping 10-year-old Zero became number 7 Mickey Mantle, Superman in pinstripes. Pink Spalding rubber ball savagely, innocently struck dead solid perfect, became big league, hardball, red-stitched white horsehide, soaring, streaking like a comet's tail toward the upper deck facade with its bleached lime green frieze of cream scalloped crowns. Thanks for listening.
Wonderful. I certainly remember the Spaldings. Thank you. That's a nice memory to bring up. All right, Lloyd, you're up. Robert Dean, you're on deck.
Mute. Here we go. And we're off. Stay tuned for more. On TV, you've seen it again and again. Body bags laid out after a drive-by shooting, the aftermath of a meth lab or gas truck explosion, children found starving in a 5-story walk-up, and best of all, yet another mass shooting. Then there are the obligatory remarks from neighbors, the microphones thrust up to their faces like corn dogs to be slathered with morsels of truth. It was so horrible, I can't even imagine. They kept to themselves. It was so nice and quiet. But he was such a good boy. He used to carry my groceries, but only sometimes a fly speck of truth. We kind of knew something bad was going on. Then after their 10 seconds of fame, and with the emergency vehicles as a backdrop, their lights all flashing, comes the remote newscaster's smiling reprise, "Stay with us for more," at the top of the hour. Cut to commercial.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you, thank you. Okay, Robert, you're up, and Ro, you're on deck.
This piece was in last year's issue of a magazine called Thorny Locust. And the title is Mr. Mystery. It has an epigraph. The conqueror of every empire was always an assistant bookkeeper, and that's from Álvaro de Campos, whose real name was Fernando Pessoa, a wonderful Portuguese boy. And I wrote this one day because I was pissed. He sits under a patio umbrella in all the splendor of charcoal gray, his Homburg bow tie, morning jacket, check trousers, onyx cufflinks, sips a tall, skinny glass of Tom Collins, lemon wheel carefully aside on charcoal paper napkin, the other chairs at the black iron latticework table tilted inward as if to discourage companionship. The possibility of footing any expense other than his own. The afternoon around him expends only the barest minimum of sunlight allowable by gray anvil clouds above. Office workers scurry to cars and buses, hope to beat whatever this ominous sky portends. His tarnished lead eyes follow all and none of them. He could be Churchill or an English valet, except for the square and compasses and letter G embossed in gold on his links. The only sign of ostentation allowed, only hint of possible collaboration, collusion, association, belonging. Should we fear him, this man who never seems to blink? What is he plotting? When will the bomb go off? It's always his kind, you know, the least likely. The failed painter with the chaplain mustache, the son of a poor Georgian shoemaker who recites Whitman. Then suddenly there they are invading Poland, murdering millions. We blinked, they cashed in, toting up debits and credits, closing musty ledger books, calling in margins, a final reckoning with no notice. Is this what Mr. Mystery has up his sleeve, we wonder? And then the clouds burst, the air crackles, the sky sparks, people rush for shelter, stones the size of quarters pound the patio table. Mr. Mystery sips his drink, smiles, pulls the Cheshire Cat fade, and we wonder, haven't we seen him someplace before? And won't we see him someplace again? After all, like Alice, we are looking for a way out. We are dissatisfied with the answers. We are tired of the status quo, off at their heads bluster of the Queen of Hearts. If only a leader would appear, we would follow. Yes, we would, no matter the cost, the reckoning, the tote, down the rabbit hole. Oh, Mr. Mystery, please come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much. Ro, you're up, and then MT, you're going to bring it home.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, everybody. This I wrote last Friday at 3 a.m., so bear with me. It's titled Purity. What is purity? The dictionary defines it as being free from adulteration, contamination. The Bible states it as being sin-free. All these vague definitions. What represents pure purity? Many might say a child is pure as the driven snow, as in the idiom. This definition too does not satisfy. A child contains seeds for future contamination, one day even ready to kill. Many examples of purity might come to mind, but they all, upon close observation, have the potential to be sullied. I want just one unadulterable example. I think I got it. The musical notes with their non-negotiable tones are the best example. Each tone has just one specific frequency, no more, no less. For example, the frequency of A1 is 55. I deal in musical notes, and hence my familiarity with that unwavering purity. Them, my refuge, thus. Thank you.
Thank you, Ro. Thank you very much. Okay. And I think I got everybody. I don't think I'm missing anybody who wanted to read. And so without any further ado, bringing it home, MT, it's all yours.
Hey, appreciate the space. I'm MT. Hope you don't mind some meter and rhyme. That's how I'm going to bring it home. This piece is called A Linguistic Disorder. Thought I was autistic. Turns out I'm narcissistic. Could not be more simplistic. Would not call me a mystic. Cystic scales cover my eyes. Tattle tales we all despise. Finger pointing out the lies. Too disjointed to disguise. Mirror man reflected back. In my hands a heart attack. Skipping beats and stopping flat. Missing peaks but dips they stack. Up like bricks, a pin that pricks. Pops the balloon, missed magic tricks. The label sticks, I'm just a mess. Promised more, delivered less. Bad business, down and depressed. When not anxious or so stressed. I confessed, I told the truth, for all the good it did. Sanguine smile, snaggle tooth, more parts I wish I hid. But I'm laid bare and they all stare since I was just a kid. Yes, on display in every way, this pot ain't got a lid. I boil over on the floor, always so fatalistic. The only way out for me, continue the artistic. Expression of the all inside or I will go ballistic. Outside I'm fine, but inside rhyme. Disorder, that's linguistic. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. And again, I want to thank our two features tonight. Wonderful, and everybody brought their A game to the open mic. I appreciate that as well. So I look forward to seeing you all next time around. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks, everybody. Good night. Stay